Hello, 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 hello. This is Doc, aka Uber Lashley, aka Rob Pandan, aka the man with the flan, and today we are going to talk about the Grade 1, the G1 Climax, the most legendary tournament of all tournaments, the round robins of all round robins, and I've got quite a gaggle of the Mujahideen over here today. And I'm going to introduce them one by one. First and foremost, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, he is the son of Iraqi Dozan. He is General Dadman. He is Emjay.
What's up, Doc? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Following this, from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, he's definitely for real. We got Fauche.
Hey.
Rounding the block, we got from Hong Kong via Florida. He is a cutie patootie. We got Pontiffmj.
Oh, stop it. You're too nice. But it's wonderful to be back.
And of course, we have from Tampa Bay, he is one half of the best New Japan podcast in the entire world, keeping it strong style. We have a very tall guy who looks good with a mustache. I gotta say, he even looks good clean shaven. We got with us the young boy, Joshua Smith.
Thanks for that intro there, Doc. My wife is not a fan of the mustache. I don't think I'm allowed to keep it anymore, but glad to be here with you guys. Glad to talk some G1.
Yeah,
How tall?
I'm not that tall. I'm 2.5.
Oh, alright. Cool.
I just saw like all the hangout pictures from All In, and you and you and James are towering over everybody. James is a big boy.
Rich is about the same height as me. He's deceivingly tall as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we think about the G1 for you guys, what's like the first thing that sort of pops into your heads? Yeah, I'll start you off.
Not gonna get any sleep.
So go off about that, Josh, because I know like I stay up. I'll watch like at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. But I gotta wake up because my dog wakes me up to go to the restroom, and I end up just watching the full card. So I get that. How about you guys? What pops into your heads for the G1?
I work outside. Gets pretty hot in the summer, so like a couple weeks in July, if I'm trying to keep up with it, you can come home and just like crash in the basement or something on a cold couch, cold room, watch 2 hours of wrestling because there's no other real sports on TV in the summer. That's a good time. So yeah, that's good. That's good watching.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I don't watch. I don't stay up all night. I got a 9 to 5. I gotta keep up appearances at. So, but I will. I do hit the gym that much, and I will throw that shit on. Catch up on the block matches on my phone or just over lunch if I can. So that's typically I'm watching these days. Otherwise, I'm coming home, loading up World and getting
Yeah. So when we talk,
Yeah, and you see,
Yep.
and you see with me, like the hard part is not that I stand to watch them. It's just a matter of there's only so many hours in the day. There's so many things you have to do, and with us having to cover it on the show, like you have to always be up to date and I've made the mistake of falling behind, where it's like you're having to binge watch 3 or 4 days worth of matches, and it's fucking insane. So that's what I kind of mean. It's like, you know, you have to squeeze it in somewhere, and that means less hours of sleep, regardless of when it's watched, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Youngboy, do you prefer the loaded nights, the double block nights? So would you prefer to review 4 single block nights or 2 double block nights? What's easier?
Well, I mean, they're both, there's not really a huge difference in which one's harder or easier, but I prefer the single block nights because the guys get the time to, you know, to work their matches. And when it's like that full block night where it's double block, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. You kind of know what it's going to look like based on, you know, the slotting of the matches.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because, like, if you go back to like those 2014, 2013 G1s where they were doing the double block nights, they gave everybody time and they were all having bangers every night, and it was fucking insane. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, cause I remember, like, was it like you got matches like Ibushi AJ Styles or Minoru Suzuki AJ Styles, where like they got to go hard for the full like 20, and like everybody kind of got like a showcase match. Even like Ayano would get a showcase match to showcase his stylings of untying the turnbuckles, taping people's ankles together. I do miss that. And when we go like, when I talk about the G1 and like the history of the G1, we gotta look back to like 1974 for the first World League. You know, and like when we look at the first World League, it was like the first time they had like a round robin. I think they actually had these kind of like leagues in JWA. You can correct me, Josh, if they did or didn't. But
No, yeah, that's exactly correct. Like the genesis of literally all the Grand Prix in all of professional wrestling, they all come from JWA, and they had the World League, and that's like what the Champions Carnival in All Japan it became. The same thing in New Japan, where it's their round robins. But like more realistically, where all of this comes from is sumo. You know, because Ricky Dozan was a sumo wrestler.
yeah,
And I'm not like the biggest expert on it, but I guess the way that they do that sport is all round robin tournaments throughout the year. They're doing a bunch of D1s all year long
Yeah.
to crown champions. That's where it comes from.
and to tie in with the sumo, we also got with us, you know, Sumo Hall, which is, you know, it's one of the legendary sumo arenas. If I look back to the first, one of the most enduring images of the G1 is the first G1 finals. My hero Chono and Keiji Muto were in the finals, and when Keiji got planted by a Chono bomb at the finish, the fans in their excitement threw their padded seats, because you had to sit crisscross applesauce when watching, and they all threw their butt pads into the ring, and I'm sure you guys see that in the VTR for G1. You see the butt pad, you see like the streamers thrown in, and like that kind of like that first G1 set the tone, in my opinion, for like what it would mean for the rest of the time. And like even like going like a little back further, like 10 years before, we have the first IWGP tournament. First finals of that is, you know, it's Hulk Hogan versus Antonio Inoki. Those are two names, two venerated names, two infamous people, if we talk about them. And like it shows the importance of the G1, because on one side you got Antonio Inoki, you know, the idol of Japan. Well, I mean, if you like New Japan, because, you know, people like Baba more, if I'm going to be honest. A lot of people love Baba, especially in the 80s. And you know, on the other side you got the incredible Hulk Hogan, Ichiban himself, probably at that time New Japan was pushing him as their number one gaijin. He was coming up he was kind of like the young boy for Andre, for Bruiser Brody, and for Stan Hansen, who were in New Japan, because this tournament happened I think like a couple years before all those guys had made the jump to All Japan. And I think it's important to like coach like what the G1 means, as far as like the first G1 you kind of have like, this was the first time the Three Musketeers were like, I think the Three Musketeers were in there. I hope they were. And then in like the second one, the second G1 was actually, they had switched it from the first one was a round robin, and the second one was a single elimination. And like at the end of that, Chono actually faced Ravishing Rick Rude. Again, I'm talking about these legendary names they have in there, because there's so many names like throughout the time the wrestling who have participated in the G1 tournament, like Ravishing Rick Rude, Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader, Ric Flair. Like these are like Western names that people like people put on a pedestal, and I think that shows like what the G1 stood for. One of my favorite things about the G1 was, because I loved watching. I talked to Josh on this. I used to rent the tapes, right? And like they had when we would rent the G1 tapes, it'd be like a compilation, so you don't get the full matches. You kind of get like a digest version of what the matches were. So like I got to see like their edited version of making Riki Choshu look like Superman in the 1996 G1, where he went undefeated. And like you think about like this kind of history with the G1 with those names, and you think about like like the winners of the G1, whether it's like Chono, Tenzan, Muto, Hashimoto, like it's kind of like humbling when you read like the list of people who won it, and to see where it transferred over like into from the 2000s, where like it was kind of like I think Josh was talking about with us, like on as far as the dark period of New Japan. I see that as the 2000s, because there was such a big fall off from the 90s, and they were doing shows like they couldn't even sell out Korakuen, right, Josh?
I mean, I don't know. I don't follow the metrics on that side of things too much, but I know that they, obviously have this defined.
Yeah. But, as far as like match quality, there was still like amazing matches. Like for me, my favorite G1 finals is Kojima versus Tenzan. That was 2006. I got a coach that says like, because I was talking about this with Josh earlier in the week, like they were having a rivalry because they came up as young boys together. They were in NWO Japan. They were in Team 2000. Kojima jumps to All Japan with Muto. Tenzan stays. Tenzan wins the IWGP. Kojima wins the Triple Crown, and then they start feuding because first Wrestle Kingdom. There was a lot more. I would say cooperation between the different federations, like NOAH, New Japan, All Japan, 01. Like people would be bouncing around places. But to see like Kojima and Tenzan in the main event, because for me Tenzan and Kojima were my guys in the Zeros, and there was the IWGP Championship match between Tenzan and Kojima, where I think they were supposed to go like to an hour draw, right? But like you just see they're having like a heated match, really heated, and Tenzan just kind of like passes out, and that's how Kojima was able to win a quadruple crown by taking the IWGP title. And I think it's funny because at the end of the match, we're talking about it. Tanahashi just started brawling with Kojima for no reason, because I think they're just trying to figure everything out. So when this match was like kind of like a redemption kind of thing, and it was hard hitting. it was kind of epic, and it ended like he could have ended on the moonsault, which was usually his death blow. So he hits like a really stiff like TTD, but like a sit out TTD, and it's probably my like favorite G1 final. Do you guys have a favorite G1 final?
I definitely do. Because I'm a newer wrestling fan, and
Thank you,
I got
Pontiff.
it during the pandemic. Yes, yeah, Pontiff. Because I'm a newer wrestling fan and got into wrestling during the pandemic, I guess I have a slightly different perspective on stuff. And like for me, when I think about some of the best wrestling ever, and I'm not gonna act like I've seen everything, but like the peak of that to me is in 2010's New Japan in a lot of ways. And I think the finals in 2017 and 2018, so Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi versus Tanahashi in 2018, I think those are like two of the best matches ever, and quite literally my two favorite matches ever. So they're really special to me, and yeah, just kind of like the peak of a really, really special era of wrestling.
Yeah, feel free guys to say like if you guys have like a favorite finals. I would like to hear from you guys what your favorite.
I was big on like the first one I ever saw that it was like right when I was getting into New Japan was like Kenny versus Goto.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time that like Kenny winning was gonna be a sure thing. I just heard like, oh, Kenny Omega's like gonna win the G1, and I was like, oh, I know Kenny from the American Indies, I'll check that out. And it was like an awesome match, kind of got me into New Japan, so I was like, oh, that's a sweet one. But Naito winning a few years ago, even though he was like concussed and sloppy as hell against beating Ospreay and then getting to fight Okada or whatever, those were, because I'm a big Naito guy, or was, but those are awesome as well, because finally winning the G1 again, so we could go challenge Sonata. Those are both great, but very sloppy, bad but good, you know, like good, but like not like good.
Yeah, that's like a Naito match. It's like there's like inklings of what the Naito was before the Stardust Genius. You know, like when he'd hit stuff perfectly. Like he'll hit like one really nice Destino and one really ugly the setup. This I forgot what he called those. Where like, you know, when you do the running counter Destino, where like it.
The Coriander.
Yeah, the Coriendo, like to get, and like he would hit those, and like you'd feel like okay, you get feelings of like, oh, this is when he was good. Because I did really like was it the 2000s? It was 2017 Naito Kenny Omega, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when they did the spot where the DDT on the ring post.
The table.
The table.
Or like the guy that hits the guardrail, and
Yeah, that was pretty sick. MJ, do you got a favorite G1 finals?
Yeah, these guys are cherry picked. So I started watching New Japan. This is my for G1 tournament. So it's Bushi Tanahashi, Kenny Naito, and Kenny Goto. Those are, for me, virtually perfect matches for final. But there's, I'm not sure I would call them like my favorite G1 matches. I probably there's matches that I enjoy more than some of these finals, which I would call perfect. Perfect matches.
Hey, Youngboy, do you have any favorite G1 finals?
So I mean, I definitely agree with these guys. I mean, but I don't want to, wax poetic about the same matches that they already mentioned, but they're right on the money.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, two that weren't mentioned that I just think probably deserve recognition: Tanahashi versus Nakamura in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
Is really incredible, and it's the final match between those guys and their legendary rivalry, and it's sort of, we didn't know that Nakamura was leaving, but it is like the last hurrah for him at the top of the top of the card, really, and it kind of puts a big stamp in quotation on their rivalry.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know, made Tanahashi the man again when people thought he was done. They thought Okada was, you know, the ace. It wasn't settled yet. Another one that I'll throw out there is Shinya Hashimoto versus Kazao Yamazaki.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh.
that one, if you guys have never seen it, it is so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And Yamazaki is like a totally unlikely finalist, and he's like coming in from that UWFI style and bringing that flavor. And then you got Hashimoto, who's like clearly the ace, won the big title a million times, but he's never been able to win the G1. So it's like, this is kind of like his final time. Like, is he going to, he's been to the finals a bunch of times, but it's like, is he going to choke again, or like, can he do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that match just fucking rocks.
Yeah. And like I brought like all four of you here because I know all four of you guys have an appreciation for MMA. I know you guys have an appreciation for the shoot style, and like that match is kind of exemplary of it because Kazao Yamazaki he's really damn good, and you know Hashimoto, Mr. Kicks, Mr. Triangle, Mr. Dangerous. He was amazing. And to get to MJ's point, there are like matches in the G1 that like that aren't the finals, but like just kind of like paint the pictures of what the G1 is. For me, like, you know, I could say like Shibata Ishii 2013, where they start the match and you just run at each other. That's sick. But like Youngboy brought up Nakamura, and then I just thought of like that fantastic Nakamura Okada match where Okada goes for the Rainmaker and Nakamura gets him in the flying armbar. And I would like to go to Josh to like tell me like what are some of his favorite G1 matches itself.
Oh man, I mean the G1 is, you know, it's where the big boys play. Like, you get so few major singles matches throughout the year, and then suddenly you're just bombarded with them, and there's so many great ones. I don't know, like the match with Takayama and Keisuke Sasaki stands out. That's one where Takayama wins but ends up having the stroke afterwards and can't finish the tournament. I really love that match. I really love Ibushi and Kenny Omega in 2018.
So dramatic.
Yeah, Omega and Naito, the rematch from 2018 as well, is like perhaps one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life. Man, there's just so fucking many.
That's why they call it the Grade 1, man.
I love the G1, and you know what you mentioned, and I'll kick it off to these guys, but you mentioned Ishii, and I feel like every match he ever had in the G1 with Ibushi is just some of the most insane shit you'll ever find, and it doesn't matter what year it was. Pick one.
2020, awesome.
Just two guys who don't care.
I was gonna say the Ishii Okada from like June 26th.
Yeah.
26.
Oh.
Like insane. Like one of my favorite. That's probably one of my favorite G1 matches for sure of all time. Omega Ishii from like G1 28, Ibushi Ishii from that same year. And I knew we were going to be talking about this, so I was like, oh man, let me go back because I have terrible memory for these matches. But I went back and watched. I think it was block final night of the G1 36, and it was Nakajima versus Mike Elgin. And man, that match was so sick, and I think like that was when Elgin was in Intercontinental champion, having a good run. But I watched that match. And that match is sick. Like and that's the same year that Marufuji was in the upper block, and I had totally forgotten that Nakajima was also in that G1. I distinctly remember Marufuji's run, but had totally forgotten about Nakajima's run, and was was a pretty successful run as well. Like he was close to top of the block and all that. So yeah, rewatch that. So that's something I recommend folks. Yeah, go back, have a watch of that. It's fun.
Yeah, you know, when we talk about trunk style, it makes me think about Katsuhiko Nakajima. You know.
There's two matches that I just thought of that I think are worth talking about. They're not maybe not the best ever, but two I really enjoy and kind of stick out because of how different they are. One is, I think it's from 2020, but Ibushi and Taichi, where they just like literally like kick the shit out of each other the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the kick match.
Like, all kicks. Yeah.
Love it.
And then Osprey versus Archer was like Osprey first heavyweight match, and like Lance Archer first as a singles guy, and like just being like, oh, Osprey's good at heavyweight, obviously. But then like Lance Archer showing up is like, holy shit, like he's not just like the big tag guy from Suzuki-gun, he's like actually having good singles matches, which like I didn't know. I just knew him like
he did that flip off the apron, right? He was like a flip off the apron.
yeah, both of them just like ball out. I think that's the G1. They kicked that one off in
That was in
America or
Dallas.
something.
Yeah, that was G1 Dallas.
Yeah, that was in Dallas.
Yeah, they had them.
Sweet.
Like that was Kenta versus Ibushi, you know, and also I think was that the first time they had Okada Tanahashi in America, or am I thinking differently? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was supposed to go to that, but I didn't. So, you know, I also like we speak up like Nakajima. I brought up over Kojima earlier, Kazuo Yamazaki. You know, G1 is also like famous for having like guest stars. From other promotions, and like some of my favorite guest stars you guys have mentioned has been like, you know, Marufuji. Like I really liked when John Moxley in 2019 went into the G1, and he was coming off his big WWE run. Some people were questioning if he could bring it. I mean, some people still think that he didn't, but I thought he did. He brought like a whole new style to himself, and he had a whole. This word is overused, and I hate that I'm about to use it. But he had an aura about him in that G1 where like he felt like a big deal, and he was probably one of like one of my favorite standouts. Besides him, I brought him up earlier. I like Buff Bagwell in the 1997 G1 because it's so funny that Buff Bagwell was in there, and his name is etched in history. So yeah, Kazuyuki Fujita, like in that was it 2003 where Chono beat him with the Shining Black. I'm not trying to style on you guys. I just know this stuff because I didn't stop watching, and like having these people coming from outside, like how have you guys felt about like these guest stars? I know like recently the one guest star that like really popped everybody last year was Konosuke Takeshita, and I thought he brought it pretty well last year.
I think I used to like be more excited about guys coming in before there was more cross promotion stuff like there is now. But
Oh yeah.
like most of the time, I'm just like I want to see the guys in New Japan work singles against the guys in New Japan. Like I don't need necessarily like 3 guys from AEW in there or something. You know, it's just like the guy Takeshita, that's cool. Maybe some other guys like from elsewhere, because I don't watch Noah or All Japan or DDT or anything. So like bring those guys in. Like I thought a few years ago, I'm like that's cool because I never see those guys. But like otherwise, like I don't need necessarily to see a bunch of AEW guys in there. Which is what a lot of Western fans like fantasy book like. Oh, it'd be cool if Danielson and Moxley and Hangman were there.
Yeah.
But whatever. They got their own thing going on. You can watch that every week on TV.
Because singles
Like,
matches.
New Japan.
Yeah, and singles matches in New Japan are kind of few and far between, outside of like the G1 and the New Japan Cup, because the G1 and New Japan Cup is usually where we see these singles matches happens on a consistent basis, because like singles matches are seen as special events. If anybody else has anything to say about guest stars, I would like to hear it.
Hey, I wanted to
go
tie
ahead.
it back to the Kazuo Yamazaki thing.
Okay.
This isn't specifically about him. It's about Shinya Hashimoto in the 1998 G1.
Yeah.
Because I thought the same night as the Yamazaki match, he had a match with Satoshi Kojima that I thought was awesome.
Oh
And
yeah.
then prior to that, he had what is probably my favorite New Japan match of the 90s, against Genichiro Tenryu, which is just like 20 minutes of them beating the shit out of each other. It is amazing, and I just love it so much.
Yeah, we talk about all these old guys. Like in the modern time, we talk about these old men like in their 50s coming in and not putting over the young guys and not putting in the work and refusing to do whatever. But like in the 90s, we had like Choshu and Tenryu growing up there in the early 50s, late 40s, and having these tremendous like wars with people. You know, that's something I like to talk about.
And since we're kind of backtracking and giving match recommendations from the last topic, I was reminded of 4 matches, and I'll just list them off. If anyone's listening, I highly recommend you go watch these. Tono Hase in '93, one of the best G1 matches ever. You guys mentioned Tenryu and Hashimoto, but there's a couple Toshu Hashimoto matches as well that are fucking phenomenal. Ishii and Tanahashi, I think from 2013.
Oh yeah.
And then Elgin Ishii is insane. So just want to throw those out there. But getting back to what we were, what the topic here was like outsiders. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like the early G1s always had outsiders. There was like that WCW presence.
Yeah.
And then they hit a slump like in the late, like basically early 2000s where they don't have an American partner. There's not any big stars coming over, and there wasn't a lot of outsiders in the G1 for a bit until like they start bringing in like guys from All Japan and Noah and stuff like that. So you've already listed quite a few people that are pretty notable as outsiders, but a few that I thought were, also worth mentioning. Steve Austin was in the '92 G1.
Yeah.
Stunning Steve Austin.
I think that's where he broke Chono's neck, right? Or was that after?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, it was after because Chono wins that G1
Oh,
against
okay.
Rick Rude. Flair was in the '95 G1, which is also pretty incredible. And then in the early 2000s, you had Jun Akiyama, Toshi Kojima, and then Takayama all coming in as like outsiders for like those 02, 03, 05, 06 like G1s, which was really, really exciting and pretty awesome for the time.
Because those Akiyama, Takayama, and Kojima were all the main eventers. They were all the guys in Noah and All Japan. So it was pretty cool to see them like make the jump. And I know like they did fall off in being in like outsiders, they had some MMA guys. I'm not sure if Don Fry was in one, but I know Kazuya Fujita was in that finals with Chono. But I also remember they had like the special interest in being in Jushin Liger to do the G1, and that's when he wore the Battle Liger outfits, which I thought were pretty cool, which is just him in shorts and showing off his tan, because you got to see like that Jushin Liger was hiding a body under there. Pretty good body guy.
Dude is a unit, man. He is jacked.
Yeah, so jacked, so tanned, and he hides it. I'm not sure why.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
The thing I won't talk about specific pose, but the idea, the notion of bringing in outsiders it's about adding prestige to the already prestigious tournament.
Yeah.
The G1 it's the most prestigious wrestling tournament in the world, and it's earned that reputation. And so we want to draw on this globally recognized talent to build on that reputation that you've earned as the most prestigious tournament in the world. And it's the most prestigious tournament in the world because it earns you an opportunity for the most prestigious world title in the world. And
Sometimes.
the biggest show, sometimes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this I'm getting to my point.
Yeah.
And typically that shot at the prestigious world title is at the biggest show of the year in front of 30,000-40,000 people. And I think, and so this is the reputation of the G1. And my point is, you can't post on your relationship or on your reputation. Reputations take work, and as an organization, you need to continually invest in your reputation, whether it's building relationships with fans, stories, and all that type of stuff that makes us care about it. And I think that in recent years, like this is kind of the problems we've seen, and it's a bit of working, a bit of that, but I think primarily it's getting away from that whole principle of like what makes the G1 prestigious. Why do people like us sit around and talk about it, wait every July and August for this tournament? Like it's so, and I think we've been getting away from it a little bit, and I know the G1 see a bunch of variations at all different times, 4 blocks or expanded rosters, playoffs, play-ins. Some of that stuff's worked, some of it hasn't. But I think getting away from the core principle of like this prestige is really what's cost the G1 in most recent years. Like, this is just my opinion, but it's kind of we've lost that core principle. And when people are challenging before the Tokyo Dome and doing these types of things, I don't know. For me, that's like it takes away from the prestige of the tournament, which is like the top, the top thing that you're doing all year, other than like your big dome shows.
Yeah, because I think they started doing the briefcase deal, like, was that 2012 or 2013 with, I think, first briefcase guy was Naito, right? Or am I thinking differently?
It was Okada.
It was Okada, right? Okay, so because they had that first briefcase. Oh, go ahead.
I just said I think.
Okay, because like that was established like 13 years ago, the briefcase, and that brings us like to think about like stuff like the Royal Rumble, or who wins the Royal Rumble. 2 months later, they get WrestleMania, right? And like we're thinking about like stuff like the time between the end of the G1, which is like in August usually, Mr. August, Mr. G1 Chono, and like August through January 4th, that's like about like a good 5 months, right? So like I get, and like always in between then you get the guys who get like different title shots based on who beats the champion in the G1, which is one of my favorite tropes of the G1. And I know there's a couple of different tropes, like, and would you guys like to comment on them and like bring them up? Because one of my favorite things is like you get a champion versus a guy who's like, he's not a high ranking guy, but he beats him, and like he gets like a title match, say like at a Destruction. Although unfortunately that never happened for Ishii. It did lead to a couple of good, title matches. I did like Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sanada at Royal Quest. I might be the only one. Or like things where I remember like for like a good like 2, 3, 4 years, Tanahashi's arm was always a subject of like, can he make it through the G1? And that's probably something like that always makes me laugh, because like, oh no, he's getting worked on, and then like he's telling her like, oh yeah, he's on his last leg, he needs surgery on his arm, but he gets through the full tournament. I think like the best thing of that was like in 2018, was it 2018, him and Ibushi, right? And like at the end, he kind of seemed like he was on his last legs, and then he comes back and wins, and like, because for the last 2 years it was like, oh, he's done being the A, so he's done. So like 2018 was him kind of like, I'm back, and as a Tanahashi fan, it made me feel good to see him like come back on top. And that's probably one of my favorite tropes, is the guy who gets injured and like you just disregard him, but he comes back to win, because that's been simple sports drama. And like when it comes to like G1, when it comes to New Japan, we think of King of Sports, and that's kind of what the drama in this thing is sports. Wins and losses. Wins and losses matter. Injuries matter. And I want to send a really big shout out to Mr. Chris Samsa for his G1 bracketology stuff, because that kind of also over the last couple of years has kept me pretty invested in the G1s, even if I'm not super invested in the current product. I always try to make the best choices on that. How are you guys doing on the brackets?
Really bad.
Yeah, you had to bring that up.
Yeah.
I think I'm 583rd or something now.
Well, I have one of the worst brackets in the entire thing. I'm like 650 or something, and I like legit invested into picking.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah, word.
It is what it is. You know, I felt like so.
I feel like Jeremy has an inside line.
Yeah. So I feel like what happened to me was like all of the matches I picked, like first night, like I picked like Taishi to beat Tanahashi. I picked all these guys, and they all lost the first night. And the guys that I picked to win the first night, they won on the second night instead. So I was, you know, that kind of shit has been happening the whole tournament.
Yeah.
So I'm in the basement with one of the worst brackets of all time. So that's how things are going for me. But I am enjoying G1 despite my you know, maybe I don't know ball. You know,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah. The work being put in is.
Push Drilla, you know.
I mean, yeah, he has the look, but does he have?
Body's handsome.
Yeah, good thing he grew out that Caesar haircut he had, because that was not it. He used to grow back the long hair, but like.
Yeah, the long hair is a much better fit.
Yeah, cause like for me, when I think of New Japan and the G1, I like the in ring is probably, this is a time where in ring matters the most to me. And like seeing like guys bring it, I think like this year, like the big standout for me are two guys. One guy's a debuting guy, one guy's on his sophomore year. Is like Oiwa has kind of like opened my eyes to him, especially like, I mean, he came out looking pretty beefy. I like him in those shorts. Those shorts look good on him. As you can tell, guys, I'm a body guy. And of course, probably my favorite body guy in New Japan is Oleg Bolton, and he's just found himself with this power style, and both of them work power styles, and like it's something that I haven't seen like since Elgin. So like it's pretty, like I appreciate the work that these two guys are putting in right now. And again, I gotta shout out to Chris Samsa, because his brackets have kind of invested me into the G1, as funny as that sounds. 'Cause before I didn't need it, but now like I kind of want to, like, you know, like fantasy football. It makes you want to, like, when you put all this in, it makes you want to watch what's going to happen, or at least pick up on the stats.
You're gonna have to join the Social Food Flex March Madness platform.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the only thing
Yeah, you know, we gotta push the MJ's March Madness, because that's prime degenerate gambling. And like again, I would like to thank you guys for coming on here with me and waxing poetic and reminiscing on what the G1 has meant to us. And I'm just really thankful to have four guys who are four really big fans, and of course one guy who runs the best New Japan podcast with Jeremy, who also is. You two are my favorite New Japan podcast, pro wrestling podcast. Probably my weeklies, something that I listen to weekly, but that I can't skip. I just want to tell you that, Josh. I gotta put you over, because I love you guys.
I appreciate it. And, you know, earlier I thought the points that you were making there, MJ, were really, really poignant, and I didn't want you to feel like I was stepping on your shit. I just like to riff.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like, and like my opinions of dudes and fights, and you know, black and meat. So like it's not these aren't absolutes.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to
Yeah. And talking about absolutes, I want to talk about like who are your guys' MVPs for the G1, like throughout your fandom. I know like over the last 10 years, so I'm gonna go talk about it. Let's talk about it, cause like 15 years ago, the way we had to watch a G1 was we go on Google, we go probably find like a torrent site, or for the real like degenerates, we like go on Justin TV, we go on Ustream, find a person from Japan, Billy streaming like the New Japan feed, and to go from that and in 2013 and then in 2014 to actually have New Japan World and have something where we can watch all of the G1 without having to buy multiple pay-per-views and just
what was that one year? What was that streaming service? Was that the Ustream year?
Yeah, Ustream. I remember
they did that first year where they did Ustream, and it was like just before New Japan World came out, and it was like, I don't remember exactly the cost of it, but the package I think to get every single night was like, I think it was 200 plus.
Yeah, and I
remember people being like,
such a good deal.
Holy shit, that is an incredible deal.
Yeah, because this is when we were still in the world of pay-per-views costing like $50-$60. And I remember Pollock, WH, and Chris Charlton were talking like, this is your first time to be able to watch the G1 live in packages.
Yeah,
that's my Charlton.
The whole thing live, like that was like we never were able to watch it live, and there's plenty of years where you couldn't watch every single night. Like
yeah.
So it's like the fact that they streamed it all, and it was like, damn, I can get all that for just $200. That's only like $10 a show. That's an incredible deal. And then like the next year you're paying 9.99 yen, and you're like, why the fuck did I pay that money?
Yeah, it's just a different world, and like I think that's one of the benefits of streaming, has opened the door for a lot of people to become new fans of New Japan, to find the G1 and see like, wow, like I'm watching all this, and for all the folks who had to pay for this, like that $200 for that package, and it's just amazing how like everything nowadays is so available, and I think that availability and seeing like stars come in like AJ Styles, that 2015 G1, 2016 G1, as it kept going on and on and on, people like started falling in love with New Japan, and as to what MJ was talking about, the prestige of the tournament itself and what it meant to win a tournament, what it meant to go to the top of the card, what it meant to go to Wrestle Kingdom and be the guy, as I think one Mr. Naito would say he's the Shukaku. That means like the star, the ace. And like, I think nowadays I do kind of like this, to harp on what MJ said, was we are kind of getting away from what the G1 meant, because like nowadays we're talking about, okay, so whatever, they'll win the G1 and then somebody will lose the title and then they'll have another challenger at Wrestle Kingdom, which is kind of like antithesis to what we would hold forward to what the G1 meant. Is like the winner is the challenger at Wrestle Kingdom, whoever the champion is. And yeah, it's something. And I know like right now in 2025, a lot of people aren't like on the up on this G1, and like I know they kind of did like one of their lowest draws. That's not important to me. Like they did the lowest numbers they did for a show. Was it an Ulta Award or something? But whatever. But like the matches and the shows are still pretty good for me, even though I know we're kind of Gabe Kidd getting hurt sadly kind of like ruined my bracket. But there's still a lot of tournament left. And I think that the work that everybody's putting their whole ass into this. So I'm pretty optimistic about where we're going, because now guys are working one less match, So, you know, guys get to get more time on the card, guys get to put more effort in. And I don't know, what are your guys' feelings? Because I think we're about to be on our closing moments.
I just want to
Yeah,
give a shout out to. Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because you're talking about people kind of putting their whole ass into it, really going hard, and I just want to say shout out to Tai Chi, because every single match he has brought it, and
Yeah.
it has just been great, really good matches, and the effort level's been amazing. The crowd's been super behind it. It's just been really awesome to see.
Yeah.
He's the best in-ring storyteller for my money. The guy who can like create that story between the two wrestlers in the ring. Like he's the best. Even going back to that match with Ibushi, that Mike Cliff match, like that was part of it. Like that was part of like the way that he just constructs matches. And I'm not super knowledgeable in match construction, but for me, when I notice it with Tai Chi, and I notice those stories, and how it's incredibly emotional. The real spirit of the matches that I enjoy, that's what's drawn me into New Japan.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be there. They had the play-ins because someone got injured, right? And that's how he ended up in. Am I thinking right? How Taichi got in?
I mean, that's the story.
That's the story. Oh, because of Goto.
I mean, there's some people that are very of the opinion that this was always the plan and we all got work, and I'm inclined to possibly agree with them because I wear tinfoil hats, so.
Well, you know, like the news that came out that he's gonna be going to do training to be Honda. I'm ready for a Scott Norton-sized Goto when he comes back for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm ready, because when you play E Honda, you gotta be big. Unless
do it incorrectly.
Oh yeah. God. Well, I mean, they could put him in like a Medea suit.
Sorry, I just want to shout out Sonata because he had his title run and then he's been working like dog shit for like a year and a half now or whatever.
Yeah.
And now he's just back to working how he did before, and everyone thinks it's like awesome. And I wonder if that was his plan all along. He's like, everyone hated my title reign because it wasn't that good, fair enough. I'm gonna like phone it in for 18 months, and then I'm just gonna go back to what I was, and everyone's gonna be like, that's 5-star shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like the disco ball outfit and the lace and the fishnet, just wonderful. He's serving, I think what they say on the Trish and Sarah is he's serving cunt. That boy is serving cunt. Fantastic.
I think you might be thinking of Tunnel Talk.
Tunnel Talk. Shout out to you girls at Tunnel Talk. Yeah, it's and you know, I really want to thank all 4 of you guys for coming in here, showing me the ropes, showing me like what your knowledge is, and I'm happy that I got 2 guys from Florida and 2 guys from Alberta to show me like their knowledge based on New Japan, the G1 history, and like pro wrestling. Man, pro wrestling is awesome. Pro wrestling is great. I know a lot of people like are harping on like pro wrestling sucking, but you know, I mean, I'm one of them. But like when I think about pro wrestling, I think about New Japan. I think about the effort. I think about strong style. I think about like hearing flesh hit flesh, seeing sweat flying, and like people roaring, and that's what the G1 is, man. It's like, it's excitement, it's a tournament, it's keeping track of points, it's, you don't know who's, I mean, I guess you kind of know who's going to win, but you don't know how they're going to get there. With this tournament, I don't really know who's winning.
I got no clue. Clearly.
Let's go Yoshihashi.
Probably Shota.
But you know, the one thing, and I'll leave you guys with this, you know, because I think everyone's kind of, you know, had some really great things to say about the history of the tournament and everything. Oh, and then one thing, we mentioned this earlier and kind of glossed over. You were asking about MVP. I just want to say, for me personally, like, the 2 greatest performers in the history of that tournament are Ishii and Ibushi, and there's like not anybody else that's even a close second. Want to throw that out there.
You're right.
You know, I really agreed a lot with some of the stuff that that MJ said earlier about what the tournament means in modern times and why it's so prestigious and you know how they've gotten away from some of that. But one thing that I don't think anyone here has mentioned yet that's a little different from my perspective is like, you know, I've been watching New Japan for quite a bit, and there was that time where it's like the winner did get a title shot, but you didn't know when it was going to be necessarily, and sometimes they didn't, and that's because the tournament itself originally wasn't about being entitled to win the championship, although that was a consolation. It was about this tournament determines who the best wrestler in the world is today, regardless of the title. It was actually in some ways bigger than the IWGP title, because, and that's why the champion is always in it. And people have always wondered, like, why is the champion in it? If, you know, if they win, what happens? You know, and it's like, you don't fucking get it. It's about
You're the best in the world.
who is the fucking man? Who is the best in the world right now? And should that person even be entitled to be the champion still if they can't win the tournament? You know?
Yeah.
And that to me is like, I love that aspect. I'm a big tournament guy, and I don't think that there's anyone else. You know, there's some other great tournaments out there. You know, 16 Karat, King of the Ring, you know, C2, you know, Bola, all that shit. But like, you know, Champions Carnival. And probably in recent years, the only tournament that like rivals what New Japan has is, you know, the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix. But realistically, for its length of time, its history, its roots, like, this is the biggest tournament. Like, winning this means you're in the record books forever with the best wrestlers that ever lived. And, you know, we're very lucky that we get to see it, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, we could have been alive when, like, I don't know, like William and Muldoon was on top, you know? We would never even get to see this shit.
Yeah, because I know, like, people hold, like, the Champions Carnival on the same level. I mean, I do kind of, like, as far as historically, because I remember, like, in the Champions Carnival, Misawa or whoever was champion would give up their title, and then at the end of the tournament, whoever wins that would be the Triple Crown champion. But yeah, like, the G1 was never about getting a title shot or becoming a champion. It was just establishing that this guy right now in this tournament at this point in time, whether it was Manobu Nakanishi in 1999 or whether it was Togi Makabe in 2009, it's just, this guy is the guy for, like, you know, Goto in, was it 2008? And what's funny about Goto is he won in 2008 and he used his world title shot to challenge Keiji Muto for the Triple Crown. I'm not sure if you guys knew that, but I just think that's pretty funny. Of course he lost. But it's just, yeah, establishing someone as, like, they know ball, they can work, they can main event, and they can win. It's establishing someone as a winner, and, like, what it meant for, like, Kenny Omega to go from, like, a junior heavyweight who was kind of like a little bit of a jokester comedy guy to, like, doing like the chainsaw thing with freaking Taguchi, to being like, no, he's serious now. He's like at the top of the world. He won the G1 and he won it like emphatically over, he beat Goto, right? Yeah, so like, and again, like, Goto, one of my favorite G1 MVPs for me, because whenever, like, he would come on, he would put on, like, amazing good matches, and this is just like, yeah, talking about wrestling like this makes me fall in love with pro wrestling over and over again, because, like, now, like, I'm like, I didn't watch, like, the last night's show beyond, like, Gabe saying that he's retiring from the tournament, not retiring from wrestling, retiring from the tournament. But now I want to go back and I want to watch, like, the matches, because now I'm excited. And I want to thank you guys for getting me excited about this.
They were good matches. Good show.
Oh yeah.
One other last thing, and you guys kind of just reminded me of it, is like, you know, we can talk all day about the kayfabe aspect of the tournament, what it means, what, you know, the prestige, all that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that there's no getting around is, like, in the annals of New Japan, if you don't win that tournament, you're not actually the best, you know? And you can point to, like, there are certain names that, like, are very accomplished, like, say, one that comes to mind is, like, Jay White, you know? Or, like, a Finn Balor. Like, those guys were in it. They had great careers, won a lot of titles, never won the G1. You can't really be considered, like, a tip-top New Japan guy if you didn't do that. So,
Even
like,
AJ Styles is a good example of that.
Minoru Suzuki.
yeah, that's another one. And there are guys who had, you know, Hiroshi Hase had an incredible career, never won that shit, you know. But you know, I know I've gone on a long time. Before we go, you know, because I want to kick it over to you guys. Do you have any final, like, parting thoughts? You know, what this tournament means to you before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'll drop this because I gotta get to Costco for the hail starts. So
Boom.
yeah, that's right. I gotta get a double chocolate chunk cookie or whatever he says. Man, the G1 for me, it's about anticipation, and that's you know, something that's like core to what we do as wrestling fans is anticipate. We anticipate these, you know, dream matchups. You know, and the G1 is predicated on quality, guaranteed. And you know, you get either the culmination of feuds, or a dream match, or something that's like accretive to the stories that are going on. I think of like Omega Okada 2, right? Something that took place in the G1 that built on this broader story that led to these, you know, greater matches. So for me, you know, those when the play-ins start, the anticipation starts building, right? And you know, I will say, like, in the past couple of years, that anticipation has waned a little bit. I'm with New Japan, you know, until the wheels fall off. So I'm gonna keep watching and I'm gonna keep with it. But I will say, like, how I personally feel, like, that anticipation is starting to grow again, right? Because we have folks that we are, you know, whether it's headcanon or whether it's real, like that we can really get behind. And I love to see guys like Oiwa. Like, I had Oiwa going 1-8 or something like that, right? Bad picks by me, but like I've been scarred, I think, by Gato's booking, and that's Gato's booking is right. So I don't know anything else. So
Yeah,
I was thinking,
feel
you know, I was thinking Drilla's coming in, he's gonna get me 2-3 wins. Oiwa, they've been jobbing these kids for quite some time. They've lost like 3 or 4 title matches. So I had that expectation, but now what I'm seeing here is different, right? I'm seeing Ole, I'm seeing Oiwa, even Callum Newman. Callum Newman's outperforming my expectations. So that anticipation is building, and I'm super satisfied, and I'm happy that I'm here and grinding every day watching these matches. Just thanks Doc, and thanks everyone for hopping on. You know, love chatting Docs with folks. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Again, like, talking about wrestling like this makes me love it. As much as you guys have seen me on the Discord, just like do nonsense. It's just like thinking about like what wrestling means to me and all that stuff, and the G1 represents what wrestling should be to me. Sport, king of sport.
It's like playoff season, right? It's like,
yeah,
it's the best time of year for it, you know? It builds to that, and you get the best stuff. Maybe your team doesn't always win, but it's always just good sport, good to watch.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of the show, and I would like to thank you individually, I'd like to thank you, Youngboy Josh Smith, for coming on here and spending your Friday with me. I know like you're a busy man, and I want to thank you for that, for doing 13 hours of work, slaving away and coming on here. I want to thank you, Fauche, for you too coming home from work, getting on this call, and being as chill as you can be, especially when it's so hot up there. I'm sure it's pretty hot. Pontiff, I want you to be my partner in this. I mean, we'll talk about that later. And like MJ, again, you are my MVP. This is, I think this might be your third show, so you're in the third show club, and I want to give you that crown. I don't think anybody else is there yet, so I want to say thank you to you. And I know I did a short AK for myself, but I made some special ones for myself for this show specifically, and I kind of wanted you guys to hear it a little bit. So here we go. This is Doc, aka Kenny Goombega, aka Big Boom Maye, aka Masa My Hero Chonies, aka Corned Beef Hashimoto, aka KG Wuto, aka Kensuke Nosaki. And again, this is Doc, this is the prescription. This has been a group consultation with 4 really great guys, 4 really knowledgeable guys, and like, I want to thank you guys for coming on and giving me the time of day, because I know time is very precious nowadays. Again, thank you guys so much.